Hi, welcome back to Lakeside Quilt Making Arts, the world of unicorns. Well, the world of a miniature unicorn. This is a miniature unicorn quilt that I was making for my 5-year-old granddaughter. I gave her the option of, do you want to turn this into a pillow, or is it okay for it to just be a quilt, so you can use it for one of your unicorns. So she's got a lot of stuffies that are unicorns, and I thought she might like to cover them up with a nice little quilt. I was kind of hoping she would say pillow because I kind of want to explore making some pillows, and I think it'd be really cute that way, but she wanted a quilt. So that's what this needs to be turned into. So I've been thinking about this. It's been in the back of my mind, and I don't know why it kind of forced its way through all of the quilt clutter in my head about all the other projects I have going on. But I've had to take some time away from the studio. I've had several different initiatives that, some that I was not in control of the timing for, and then a couple that I was spending time with my niece, my great niece, my great nephew. The timing, just worked out that this past week was time to do that. So I didn't get to produce, didn't get to be in the studio. And, so all of the other projects that I've not been actively working on in the last few weeks, I had the mental bandwidth for those things to kind of pop to the surface again. The Mars quilt and this one are just kind of in the back of my mind now, kind of nagging at me. It's like, don't forget about me, don't forget about me. And I think this one might be one of the easiest ones to make some immediate progress on. So I've been trying to think about it in the back of my head while I had my great niece and great nephew here, thinking, what is my next step? What do I need to do? So first, let's identify what's going wrong with it. As you know, I'm a newbie. It's the reason I named this channel Lakeside Quilt Making Arts, because I am exploring all the arts of quilt making. That means I got to explore the technicalities of it too, because I'm a complete novice and I'm spending too much time, honestly, learning how to create videos than I am spending. If I could spend the same amount of time and just studying about quilt making, I might be able to do a better job. But I am producing a channel so that I can share my journey. So my point is, one of the things I didn't do right, because I didn't know, is that I didn't interface this. I kind of did. Like, I put a backing on it, but I didn't adhere it to it. I didn't baste it to it. I just, whenever I did this thread stitching, this, what do you call it? The thread sketching, I think is what this is called. When I did all of this, I put it against some flannel on the back side, and that looks good. I'll actually take this off and show it to you. What that did not do is it did not serve to keep this top layer, the top of the quilt, it did not serve to keep it squared up. So as the stitching got heavier, especially here, it kind of scrunched up the outside border. So I don't have squared edges now. I may look like I do, but especially over here, I don't. This is just tighter here because all the stitching is tighter. So how do I handle that? Do I just not care about it because this is a 5-year-old's blanket for a miniature unicorn? That's a very valid way to approach this, but I don't really want to cheap out on my learning opportunities. So I wonder what I could do here. So that's why I'm making this video. What would you do? There's a part of me that wants to say, okay, let's address that issue. That is one of the issues at hand here. The other issue is the aesthetics of the unicorn. Is it complete? Does it need anything else? What else is going on here that I need to address? Well, I do think that the drawing itself needs a little bit of work, but I think I can achieve what it needs through the quilting process, I think, because I don't think it needs a lot, and I might as well make that as part of the quilting. Like, I think it needs some stitches that go this way that just kind of shows you that this is the curves of the horse, and it kind of connects this over here. And that the mane might need to be even heavier yet. And even though I love the texture of this that you're getting with all this extra thread on it, I use 50 weight thread. And if I had used a pearl cotton or, a pearl cotton that you work by hand or one that you can put in the machine, if I use some hand stitching, some embroidery, or just some basic running stitches, so it looks a little bit like a cantha quilt, would that be all I need? I don't know. I need to give this some thought. So that's another question for you. So how would you handle the fact that that some of this top is kind of curled up, it's ruffled up. And how would you address adding some texture and dimension to the unicorn itself? Would you just go ahead and say, okay, if you go ahead and layer this up and into a quilt sandwich, put your batting in, put your backing on, and pin base it, or any kind of basting, glue basting. I do have some spray basting I can use if I need to. Could I then go ahead and quilt this, and then this little bit of ruffling would just kind of get quilted out, because everything would kind of get drawn up, but it's getting drawn up with the backing and with the batting. Would that be fine? I don't know. I don't know what else I need to do. I don't really want to take out any of the stitching. I'm pleased with the way the mane looks. So what would you do? What would your next step be? I do want to embroidery onto this, and I think I can wait until the last, until after we're quilted, to like embroidery on a butterfly, maybe a little flower down here, and then maybe a butterfly up here, or something. Just a little bit of extra something, and that would be done in a pearl cotton 8-weight that has some dimension. And then I watched on Marion's World, where she presented how to make fabric twine, and I think that would be really cool. You could actually make some hair on this unicorn that has real texture to it. That could be really cool. But I also I think that might be way too thick, way too much contrast and texture. Although originally I did see such things. I wanted this to be a very tactile thing, I just love petting it as it is. I don't mind the feel of these ruffles over here. It feels kind of good, actually. Okay, so then the third question is, how would you quilt this? So I'm going to put in some more stitching to try to give some shape down here, or elsewhere even. Maybe it's not as thick as this, just a little bit more, just so that when you're up close, you see some sweeping lines that shows the shape of this unicorn. Then could that be covered up with the quilting? And all of this thread stitching could be covered up with the quilting. So maybe I need to hand quilt it, or as small as it is, I can machine quilt it, whatever design I come up with. So do I do a design inside here, and then a design out here? What would you do? And be specific. Give me hints and tips, all right? I need them. So I'm going to give you a close-up of this, and then I'm going to give you a close-up of the back, and then we'll talk about it. So the fourth bonus question for you, which I wish I had thought at the very beginning, was how would you finish out the edging? Would you put a proper binding on it? Would you do, what is it called, facing? Would you just treat it like a pillowcase, just kind of put it right sides to right sides and stitch around and then flip it? That's kind of what I'm leaning towards, just so it's nice and simple. But I also like a binding, and I think the binding might add a nice texture. I'm not afraid of binding, especially on something so small, right? Like I'm not one of those that opposes binding at all costs, so that's not a problem. I mean, it's not my favorite thing to do, but I do like finishing things, so it does have that going for it. So how would you do it? And I don't have my backing fabric picked out for this, So that's kind of, up for grabs right now too. So I guess it'd be a bonus, a secondary bonus question. So there'd be 5 in there if you want to contribute to that as well. But I'm probably just going to go with something that I have. So be kind of generic with your tips about what to put on the back. You might say just do a white back, or just do really colorful, do real busy, or do a big scale, or go real graphic, or go whimsical. Something along those lines is what I'm looking for. I just really appreciate you guys participating and giving me any tips, suggestions, advice, any kind of commentary that you have for this. I will take it to heart and see what I can do with it. I really appreciate it. And if I can just go ahead and max out my requests here, I've got another one I want to add into the mix. We need a name. What would you name this guy? So he's a miniature unicorn for a 5-year-old granddaughter who loves unicorns. What would you name this guy? Because I think he needs a name. Thank you very much for being here. Thanks for all your help. Thanks for watching all the videos and helping this channel get through this season where I've got lots and lots of distractions. We'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.